Okay, and we're recording on WebEx too, so we're ready whenever 6:30 rolls around.
Okay. Howard, I love those pictures you post on Facebook. You're on mute.
Which one?
Oh, all of them. Every day you have a new animal photo. Yeah, they're awesome.
The good news, Ray, I was tired of all the negativity.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I think it's pretty cool. All right, it's 6:30 my computer. I'm going to call the meeting. Start with the flag salute. The United States
of America.
To the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everybody can mute, that'd be great. I'd like to now take a moment of silence to remember service and sacrifice the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. I'd also like to add, we lost two members of what I consider our Rockaway Township family. Retired Sergeant James Knightley passed away on June 29th. He used to be a Morris County Sheriff Department before he started working for the Rockaway Township Police Department for 25 years. He used to sometimes be the sergeant at arms at our meeting. Very nice, friendly man. He was survived by his wife Dottie, who also works in the township. They're married for 34 years. His two daughters, Jamie and Jenna, and I believe he had 4 grandchildren. And then I'd also like to add passing of Thomas Degnan. Pat Degnan, who joins our meetings frequently and is just a really big contributor to our community, lost her husband on June 24th. He worked for a long time in the New York Department of Sanitation. He also worked in the maintenance area in White Meadow Lake for a long time. He was a member of St. Cecilia's, a member of the Knights of Columbus, and he was a former past chief of Rockaway Fire Department number 5. As I mentioned, he was survived by his wife, Tricia, as we call her, married for 51 years, his children and multiple grandchildren. So really 2 big losses to our Rockaway Township family. So if we could take a moment of silence, appreciate it. Clerk, can you please take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Freelander?
Here.
Oh. Councilmember Freelander?
Here.
Councilmember Chris?
Here.
Councilmember Salberg?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Noon?
Here.
Vice President Sackett?
Here.
President Jackson?
Here. We have a quorum. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on June 20th, 2020. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. First item of business, approval of amendments of the May 11th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Council President, can you recognize to ask a question?
You can make a motion or you can vote, but no, there's going to be no questions.
I just want to be recognized in regards to the May 11th, 20 regular minutes, not the 23rd of June regular or closed. Just a quick question before we vote.
You can make a motion if you would like. Otherwise, we're going to make a motion and have a second and vote.
Well, there's not really a motion that's necessary to be made to ask a question, just for clarity.
No. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve those
I'm going to
minutes?
make a motion so that you allow me to ask a question in regards to the May 11th, 2020 regular meeting.
Does anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, take a vote. Clerk?
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
You're muted, Manny.
I
You said
heard him.
yes.
Can you hear me? Yes?
Councilmember Chris,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
No, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Mr. Kelly, you can ask your question.
Great. Thank you so much, Council President and other members, for allowing me to ask. On May 11, 2020, and maybe Mr. Critch, you might remember, you had a written prepared statement that you provided all of us during the meeting, which you read and was also provided in this minutes on page 17. On page 20, I had requested to have the records, part of the record related to the second quarter grace period extension, because they were too long to read into the record. The council president wanted us to somewhat expedite. So I'm wondering, I work with the clerk to have those records as part of the record of the minutes, and they're not in there. Mr. Jackson, would you know why they're not in there?
I'm sorry. No.
Did you tell the clerk not to put those records in the minutes?
No.
Then I make a motion to add those records, since they are a public record and were part of the record on the 11th. For whatever reason, they were omitted, whether purposely or inadvertently.
Somebody like to second Mr. Kelly's motion? Okay, you asked your question. There was no second to your motion. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I just got to finish the question, Mr. Jackson.
You finished your
No, I'm
question,
not,
but
Mr.
somebody
Jackson,
like
I
to make a
didn't.
motion.
I didn't finish my
Somebody
question,
like
Mr.
to make a
Jackson.
motion.
I make a
Okay, no,
motion.
Again, you're starting again.
I'm asking to ask questions. You're not allowing me to make questions.
You
Second.
One question, you asked it. Who's seconding Mr. Quinn's motion?
Albert.
Okay, clerk,
Councilmember Kelly,
I object to the minutes in this motion.
That's not a vote, Council President.
that's fine. It's a no.
I didn't vote no. I objected to it. It's an illegal act that you're taking.
Whatever.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Chris,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 8 yeses. The minutes are approved. Next is B, June 23rd, 2020, regular meeting minutes. Any discussion? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Did you catch who the second was?
Was it Jonathan?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Chris,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Minutes are approved. Next, C, June 23rd, 2020, closed session minutes. Does anybody have any discussion?
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute you while you're not talking.
Okay,
Yeah, Council President, I have a question for you.
sure.
Is there a reason why when I asked I wasn't allowed to do it that way, but when you do it, it's okay?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I had to make a motion to do that. You're allowing everybody just to chime in.
I'm allowing you to chime in.
But you didn't let me chime in the first time. You made me do a motion. And you voted no.
I asked you to.
That's all. No questions. Thank you.
Just drag on the meeting as that
I make
roll.
a motion to approve it. I make a
I know
motion
you
to
like
approve the
to, you
minutes.
like to be confrontational, angry. I get it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Okay.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Chris,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. The minutes are approved. There's 7 ordinances to adopt. We have O-20-13 ordinance adding chapter 20, chapter 30 entitled Special Use Permit to the Code of the Town of Rockaway.
You're breaking up, Mr. Jackson. You're
I
breaking up.
can't hear you either, Joe.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Ordinance to adding chapter 30 entitled Special Events Permit to the Code of the Township of Rockaway. I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance to charge a $50 fee for a special events permit. Anybody second that motion?
Yeah.
Would anybody like to discuss that?
I'm sorry, my computer broke up a little bit. I didn't catch the second.
Jonathan seconded.
Thank you.
There was a request for discussion?
Yeah, is there any discussion on that?
Yeah. Well, you broke up. We couldn't understand what you were saying.
Yep.
You know, with regard to your $50 fee that you're applying, how are you coming up with the $50 to apply to this fee?
It was kind of an arbitrary fee, just put out there. That's why I wanted to discuss it. If anybody has any other ideas and want to charge a different amount of fee for a special events permit, I don't think it's that out of line with the other permits we charge, but I'm not positive.
Well, you know, in most cases, when you have fees that are applied, you try to figure out what the time and what is involved to issue the permit. Is there inspections by multiple subcodes, different departments? Is there administrative review? Is there potential plan review? Is those things did you factor that in when you came up with the $50 fee?
Nope.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Seeger, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you feel we should be charging more? Or I thought the town's average fee was around $50 for these.
Yes.
From 20 years ago.
Mr. Coward looked at the current, and we looked at a couple of towns, and the fee is $50. If Mr. Kelly chooses to make it more, he can.
No, I just asked what you came up with how you came with a number. As you said before, Council President, when we were dealing with the second quarter extension, you really didn't rely on what other municipalities do. So I didn't know if you had a theory or a formula, but you don't. It's okay.
Yep. Thank you. So,
This is Councilman Brooks. Is there an exemption for like the town's like
Boy Scouts
programs and stuff like that?
Can we do that on a one-on-one basis, Mrs. Seeger, or would we want to, or?
There's something, I think there's something in the ordinance that says the administration can decide who needs a special permit. There's an out for the mayor and I to allow that not to have to pay the special permit.
Yes, Joe, we've done that. We've done that in the past where people have applied for permits for particular things, for particular events, and we can waive the fees in certain, it's up to our discretion because they gives us our latitude to do that.
Council President?
Yes.
I just want to add something here, and perhaps Chrissy can clarify where I'm going with this. It's my understanding that the intent was with respect to the permit fee to accomplish it not by amendment to the ordinance, but by a resolution, a motion and a resolution. The advantage of that would be that at any time, the council could amend or adjust the fee without having to amend the entire ordinance, which would obviously take at least 2 cycles of council meetings. Chrissy, am I correct on that?
That was the discussion that I had with Mr. Perone today.
Okay,
Okay, so what do we need to do?
what I
If you
would,
could amend your motion to just establish a $50 fee for the special events permit, we will memorialize that motion separately than the approval of the ordinance.
Okay, so I'd like to amend my motion to what you just said.
Okay.
And Jonathan seconded.
Second the amendment?
Yes, he did originally.
He seconded the original motion you made, not the new one.
I will second.
I'll
I
second.
will second.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses and 1 no, so that motion carries. I'd like to get a motion to approve ordinance O-20-13.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Jack and Mary. Is there any public discussion to take place? Chrissy, can you see if anybody wants to comment on this ordinance?
Give me one.
Yeah, if you can unmute, just unmute them, and if somebody wants discussion, they can talk.
I have Colin user 2. Would you like to comment specifically on ordinance O-2013?
How many callers are on?
I have 10 attendees.
Okay. Yeah, I just, so I think just unmute each one and state their caller number or whatever.
Colin user 3?
Yeah, if they don't respond, just move on to the next.
Jim Waters?
No comment on the ordinance.
Lisa Salberg?
No, thank you.
Pat Degnan?
No comment.
Patrick Egan?
No comment.
Chrissy, one more. William Degnan.
I'm not quite there yet, Pat. I have Rich Naska.
No comment.
Ron Cleland.
No question.
William Degnan.
No comment.
And that's everybody, Joe.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, if you could take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is B, O-20-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 17, Section 1.4A and B, 2 of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who did you have, Joe?
I didn't hear any, I heard a couple of seconds. I didn't hear
Seconded
any.
it before, Mr.
I
Rio.
made the motion.
Thank you,
Jack
Mr.
Quinn.
Kelly.
I think we both yelled at the same time.
And
Yeah.
you can have it, Manny. If you want second, you can have it.
I'll take a
If
second.
it's that important to you.
No, oh,
And Chrissy, if you could go through the public again and see if they have any feedback.
Sure. Call-in user 2? Call-in user 3? Jim Warders?
I have no comment on that.
Lisa Salberg?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Pat Degnan?
No comment.
Patrick Egan?
No comment.
Rich Naska?
No.
Ron Cleveland?
No comment.
William Degnan?
No comment.
And that's everyone, Joe.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, Chrissy, if you could take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitch?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is
President, I'd like to make a motion before you go into open to the public.
Go ahead.
The motion is to move the Peterson Field concept plan review from number 10 before the open to the public for the reason of allowing the public to participate afterwards. I didn't know if you were going to allow questions and answers from the public on line 10. So if we move it beforehand, people can comment on it in the open public portion soon after.
Is there a second to Mr. Kelly's motion?
A second.
Who seconded it?
Mr. Salberg? Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitch?
No.
Really?
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
No.
President Jackson?
No, that's 6 yeses and 3 nos. So we will move the item. So
Thank you, everybody, for voting in favor of that.
Mr. Coward, are you ready to present?
Yeah, Council President. Thanks, everybody. Chrissy, can you allow me to share my screen?
I can try.
Okay.
Brian, you should be able to just grab it at the bottom. If your WebEx is up, it's the third icon from the left on the bottom.
Yeah, you know what? The button is actually just not working at all. It's like it's a slightly different color of gray. It's kind of disabled.
Mr. Coward, are you going to be referring to a plan so I can get myself prepared?
I am going to be referring to the plan that was distributed. I'm also going to pull it up onto my screen and move it around as I'm speaking.
Okay, I have two. I have a large contractor plan, a 3x2, and I also have a smaller one that's colored inside.
I believe that they are the same plan. One was just printed on a color printer. The other was on a plotter, which cannot print color.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, if you now to see if you can share content.
I think that's gonna work here. Okay, I have a whiteboard. Let's try this share. Oh, that's not gonna work. Oh, it only allows a whiteboard here. Speaker. Oh, just bear with me, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy, is that the extent of what is allowed?
I only see a white face. It's blank.
That's the only permission that it would allow me to give you, Brian.
Okay.
Can you email it to Chrissy, and could she possibly have the ability to share it? Because she's
This whiteboard program is going to allow me to open a PDF, but this is just a little bit different than what I was expecting. So I'm just going to have to pull up the PDF through here.
Okay.
Just bear. Just opening here. Save it from where I had it open.
I just want to remind everybody tonight, we're only looking at the concept. We're only approving the concept tonight.
Doing whiteboard. Well, so it looks like I can share it with everyone, which is what I'm going to do. I'm actually not sure that it's going to bring it up here. Oh boy. And now it wants to do something that I can't do on this computer. People who joined can't view the content you're sharing. Okay, so I'm going to be unfortunately unable to share that part of my screen with WebEx the way it is tonight.
Can you share your file, Brian? Because I know under the share folder it says file or whiteboard. Can you just share the file?
So I just took a crack at that, and it wants to install some software, and I do not have administrative privileges on this computer to do that install. So I'm just going to.
I wonder because if I do share file, it pulls up like my file folder. Did you get that?
Yeah. So I clicked on that, and then it prompted an install screen, and then I got it closed down there. Start my video here. Stop showing myself. What is that? Yes. Okay, so am I back on screen now?
You are.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody. So I'm going to be talking based on the assumption that you're all looking at the composite drawing that's titled Peterson Feasibility Study that was distributed in your council packet. Does everyone have that?
Yep.
I do. Yes. When was that prepared, Brian? I don't have a date on it.
I believe at some point last week. But what I'm going to do is run through the different zones on that plan with you. Basically, the administration understands that there's been a lot of interest expressed from the council and from the community to see recreation facilities improved in the township. As has been discussed previously, Peterson Field is the main opportunity for real estate that we have for recreation fields for development. That's consistent with recreation open space planning documents and the township master plan. So what we've prepared for you guys today is a document that represents the major projects that the township has explored with the township experts, basically the council subcommittee, professional engineers, representatives from the recreation programs, and some construction experts. So if everyone could just take a look at that map. I'm just going to note that it's a feasibility study. This should not be considered an engineered drawing. Was prepared by an engineer, but it's not engineered plans. I guess that may be a little nuanced, but for the intent of this project, we weren't asking them to come up with specifications on dirt. We were asking them to consider the space in 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions. So 2 dimension in terms of aerial, if you're looking down, what will fit, and then 3 dimensions in terms of what's realistic in terms of grading earthwork that would have to be done to get these fields to fit in place. We also considered all the challenges with current use, which we got feedback from the different sport programs, and kind of projected forward what we think the highest and best use of that property would be in light of the challenges that we're having at the current fields. So all that was kind of communicated to the engineers, which resulted in several iterations of different, proposals at different locations. And by different locations, I don't mean, facilities other than Peterson Field. What I mean is different layouts at Peterson Field 1 and 2 were considered prior to coming up with this plan. So details of each layout, each location are going to have to be worked through during a design process, which is forthcoming. That has not been done. We've done this feasibility study. We're going to have to do further engineering. So details of each layout are subject to that engineering process. I want to emphasize that we're considering each location on this plan that we're about to talk through as a separate project. We don't consider this overall plan one project, right? We're not looking to put a shovel in the ground tomorrow and start building the building. This is a vision for what we think Peterson Field could be and would be best for the overall community if we could snap our fingers and have it poof be there. All right. So with that, I'm going to kind of turn our attention to what I'm going to call Area A. I have a little memo that I distributed along with that plan, and you can follow along in the different areas. Area A is the basketball courts.
Old or new?
The Area A is just the basketball courts. We're just talking about the area that is the basketball courts. And the administration proposal is to construct 2 full-size courts and 1 modified court. And what I mean by 2 full-size courts is 2 high school regulation courts. It's a project that basketball has expressed interest in for several years. And the proposed plan, the depiction on the map is not specifically accurate in terms of the drawing. That's not the engineered drawing for the basketball courts. Just to note that, like I said.
Oh, Brian, hold on. Your connection's frozen.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we want to continue using the facility, the real estate that is under the basketball courts. We want to keep using that for basketball. We just want to expand the footprint to accommodate 2 full-size courts and 1 modified court. And we think that the proposed layout will accommodate both. Will accommodate both regulation play, which is something that people have expressed interest in, as well as things like pickup games in the community, as well as what we have there now. So next, we're going to jump to Area B, which is Peterson Field 1 and 2. Those are the fields closest to Fleetwood Drive in the front. On that drawing, we have a colored version of it. It is an artificial turf field that's considered full-sized, so that would accommodate soccer, lacrosse, and football in a rectangular configuration, as well as softball and baseball with a 50-70 field, which is a 50-foot pitching distance and a 70-foot base-to-base distance. Artificial turf in this case is desirable, and it's something that we'd like to pursue because it's an important resource for extending the play season for the sports that want to play very early in the spring and very late in the fall. We have programs like soccer, like baseball, that have travel teams that want to get on to the fields earlier than we currently allow them. And we don't allow them to do that now because it would take away from the asset, the fields that we have with grass. Artificial turf would kind of provide a relief valve where we can allow them to do that a little bit earlier. It would also be a great place for people to play when there is rain and would accommodate them playing and not damage grass fields. So the overlays that are proposed on there would accommodate nearly all organized sports in town that use fields. So it would be a really great resource if it was made in artificial turf with something that everyone could use, and it would be heavily scheduled. Turf would not care that it was heavily scheduled. It would continue to bounce back and be a valuable resource for every sports team. The next area is Area C, which is just the playground adjacent to the building, which is in the lower area. We just want to continue to use that area as an engineered 5 to 12-year-old playground. And by 5 to 12-year-old, I mean children's 5 to 12 years old. It provides a location for sibling recreation when you have a kid who's playing in a sports, you know, and you need to do something. It also is just a nice passive recreation option for people who don't or aren't engaging in sports at the complex. Next up, we're jumping to Area D, which is Peterson Fields 3 and 4, and that's essentially the fields closest to Route 80 that exist now. The plan for those is to basically leave them the way they are. We'd like to keep a full-sized, again, it could accommodate soccer, lacrosse, and football with whatever striping we want to do. It's natural turf with 2 diamond overlays. In this case, one of the diamond overlays is actually large enough to accommodate 60-90 baseball, which is the larger baseball field size. Natural turf is paintable. Any lining that we want to do, it's relatively easy to change. And natural turf is preferred by certain sports at certain times of year for certain competitions. The current layout there, we do occasionally have complaints about field conditions, but the overall layout does accommodate all users without any overlap of fields. So we feel that it's a relatively good use of the real estate. Next up, we're jumping to Area E, and here again we just have a little bit of a note on the composite drawing. The composite drawing labels them both futsal courts and tennis courts. It's just due to the way that this depiction was made. We are proposing to keep those as tennis courts. Tennis remains a requested resource to the Division of Recreation. We've also had a request from folks in the community to explore the option of adding pickleball, and we would like to pursue that by basically doing an overlay of pickleball courts on the tennis courts. We would do those such that there are 2 pickleball courts overlaid on 2 tennis courts. They would use the same nets. So the other thing I want to just note over there for the composite drawing, it depicts a dog park. That is not being explored currently. That is just because it was requested that the engineer look into it for feasibility reasons, and they actually just put it on their base map of Peterson Field. So now, without going back and kind of re-engineering their base map, it's just showing up. It may actually be off of the Peterson property. We're not totally sure with how they actually laid it out, but I'm just noting we're not planning on moving forward with the dog park in that location. Next up, we're going to jump to Area F, which is adjacent Route 80, and it would be called Peterson 5 and 6, Fields 5 and 6. And there we have 2 natural turf 50-70 diamond fields, which are sort of butted up against each other. They have a centrally located press box. It would feature things like a perimeter walking path and playground. It could accommodate a lot of different recreation resources depending on the way we want to take that project. We like the layout. It would accommodate tournament play, which is currently done by girls softball and baseball. And those resources are currently Peterson 1 and 2, those fields in the front that are baseball fields now are currently kind of providing that resource with some hiccups. There's some challenges there. These new fields in the back would provide a better location for those. It's a tiered approach, which removes some need for earthwork. It's a nice way to utilize the natural gradient there. And, you know, it could be a really fantastic tournament style atmosphere. One of the pieces of feedback we hear a lot is when people go to visit places like Williamsport and what's the place down in Flemington? It's Diamond World or whatever the name of the place is in Flemington. These press boxes located centrally in a clover orientation where they have 4 fields around one central building. It's very desirable. Makes use of one building very well. And we think with the way that the earth is at Peterson Field, this is a great way to get 2 baseball fields in there. And then the last area that we explored is Area G, which is a recreation building and community center. Obviously, that's something that's been explored for a long time. This current iteration is essentially a metal prefabricated structure which houses 2 large gyms. One is a multi-purpose hardwood floor, and the other side is currently proposed to be an ice rink. This specific building would accommodate a second story that could have multi-use rooms. It could have offices. Part of the reason that this is being explored is that we've had feedback from the community and folks that ice rinks and gym spaces both are specifically in high demand. The basketball program right now is using schools. That's working great. We do occasionally have issues with Board of Education, canceling outright very close to when we have competitions, tournaments, things like that. Same with ice hockey. Ice hockey is dealing with very high costs for ice rink time. So that's basically driving those 2 indoor recreation resources. We contemplate some additional parking. That's something that is thrown in because of the building. It's something that could be explored, different ways to accommodate different parking. And that's really what we're depicting on that drawing that we've all presented. So it's the administration. One of the things that we considered when we were developing all these is that the Americans with Disabilities Act is very important, and we've heard that from the council when we've been considering other projects. Every single one of the projects that we've explored, we feel can be engineered very, very well to accommodate barrier-free and ADA requirements. So they could be an asset for everyone in the community. And with that, I think that the administration just wanted to seek the council's consent, either through some sort of motion, to move forward with projects that are in line with this overall strategic plan. We've explored the feasibility, and now we'll leave that to you.
So thanks, Mr. Coward. So I'm going to open up, like I said, I sent out a couple of emails earlier this week regarding, we give everybody 5 minutes to ask questions. And obviously we set some parameters around that due to the nature of where we are in the process. And then once we get done with questions, we'll look to make a motion to approve the concept plans. I'm just going to go in the order of the roll call. And Mr. Kelly, do you have any questions?
Mr. Jackson, if possible, in case somebody doesn't have any questions, I would like to absorb that time, because I think some of my questioning may exhaust 5 minutes. It might be more towards 8.
I'll give you 8 minutes, Mr. Kelly.
You will. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Mr. Coward, the plan that we have from E&I, are you there, Mr. Coward?
Yes, sir.
When I look at that plan and I look at another concept plan that was drafted on October 2nd of 19, you're a mirror image from the group DAB Construction. So E&I's plan is a mirror of this original plan back in 2019. Would that be accurate?
Mr. Kelly, we're not going to be grilling Brian Coward about the past. We're here to.
You're interrupting my 8 minutes, and I didn't yield any time, Mr. Mayor. I'm just asking
you
simple
don't have to
questions.
yield any time. I'm going to stop your questioning and interrogation to Mr. Coward. We're not going to be going backwards. We're moving forward. And as the leader in the town, and as the mayor, and as the person who directs personnel, I'm not going to allow that vein of questioning. So you're going to stop. You're going to ask about the current project.
I am asking about the project.
We're not going to interrogate. And if you can't do that, no one from the administration will be carrying on answering these questions. So thank you. Make your questions relevant.
I will. And Mr. Mayor, I just want to remind you, I don't want you to deprive me of my statutory and constitutional right to participate in this meeting.
Okay, you can participate.
I don't interrupt you.
You are not entitled to a response.
I understand, but it's your own self-serving comment.
You don't understand. Obviously,
I do.
Understand. If
You're
you're gonna ask
interrupting me of my time, Mr. Mayor, please.
to my administration,
We're talking about a multi-million dollar plan here, and I have some questions about it.
As
And I
long as
want to
they're
make sure that
appropriate,
we're
as long as they're
focusing.
appropriate, you can continue. If they're interrogatory about past plans that have no relevance to adopting this concept, I'm not going to allow it, and that's going to be that.
Mr. Mayor, you're a guest in this meeting.
No, I'm
So
not
I
a
can
guest.
continue.
No, I'm not a guest when it comes to my administration.
This meeting, Mr. Mayor, you're a guest, and I didn't yield my time. If I can continue,
You don't
I
have
have my
to yield your
extension.
time, Mr. Kelly. I will direct
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Kelly not to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
In regard to the turf end of it, Mr. Coward, there have been a lot of individuals that currently coach right now that have some concern with some things related to turf field, heat stroke, injury. Has it been weighed out where more are prone to having a turf field versus not having a turf field?
The advantage of a turf field is not actually specifically in the summer. There's things that can be done to make a turf surface playable in the summer. A lot of places do things like water the surface to bring the temperature down. We don't think that a turf field is the end all be all. We think that it's more of an arrow in the quiver, so to speak.
Okay. And when we have the area for these 2 additional baseball courts or fields, are there any facilities as far as bathrooms or restrooms that are presently going to be installed or constructed in that area?
It's certainly something that could be considered in future engineering.
I mean, if you think about the location of where those fields are, way up on top of that hill, I mean, we don't have any topo here on any of these plans, and the current restrooms are all the way down on the end of the field, more towards the west side, going towards DBO school. That's a real heavy challenge for somebody that has to go to the bathroom. And I don't know if we're going to have access to the pole barn building where this proposed hockey rink is going to be. You know, that's another concern. Is the rec center always going to be open when these games are being played for access to use the facilities?
We certainly have not contemplated the schedule that the building would be open. We're not really contemplated the building.
We're not that far in the process. We're here to.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, please, thank you. And then there's a concession stand that we have that's currently down in this existing area that hasn't been done that long ago. Are we going to move maybe concessions to another area to accommodate people that are in the rec center area and the baseball, the new area that they're trying to promote?
No, we're not moving the concession stand. We just redid the concession stand. So it's going to stay where it currently is, and we're going to work around what we have.
So are we going to have any kind of concessions inside the rec center?
Oh, let's get a rec center built if we decide to do it as a group, and then we'll decide that at that time.
Now, as far as hockey, Mr. Coward, how many people do we have with hockey that are involved with the program?
I can answer that. In terms of hockey, we have, it's not just Rockaway Township, but we have our high schools and some other areas that might be interested. I think at some point, Mr. Brooks would be able to speak a little bit further on that.
I'll ask him then. Mr. Brooks, can you tell me how many we have in hockey in Rockaway Township?
Currently in the recreation program, we have over 120 kids in the rec program.
And how many football players do we have in the program? Do you know?
I don't coach football.
How about baseball?
Which baseball?
All of them.
Combined,
Yeah.
425 maybe?
Let's just say 450 to be safe.
Sure, that's fine.
You're aware of Aspen Ice, right?
I'm well aware that yes.
And you're aware of Menon Arena?
The wrong way here.
Menon Arena and Aspen Ice, the owner of Aspen Ice just sold.
Yeah, for a lot of money.
They did, and not a lot, though. It's a loss for what Mr. Caragino was going on. Don't you think that the cost of this for the only 120 players, basically maybe even potentially turning this into a very late occupancy of use, You know, when we were in Mendon, when we played back in our time, we had ice time at 3 o'clock in the morning.
All rinks are closed now.
I know, they're closed at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
But still, you have an R13 zone of residents that are all the way around there. And you're going to be turning this into a very light end of it. And who knows if the hours change, what we propose as of hours based on the need. I mean, don't you think it's a little excessive to the cost to actually run a rink, let alone to install a rink?
Mr. Kelly, this is a concept.
I'm not asking talking about cost. I'm not talking money wise, but there is an amount that's here.
We're not talking about cost. This is a concept. We haven't decided.
I understand, but Mr. Mayor, we're here tonight to approve this concept, though, aren't we?
Correct. But
okay. So I'm trying to discuss the concept.
We're not approving final plans.
I understand that, but we have something on the concept plan that maybe we vote to remove. So, I mean, that's what I thought we were here for. I didn't think I was only here to talk about what you wanted me to say or talk about, rather than questions that maybe revealing some substantial costs.
As many questions as you want in your 8 minutes.
Well, you're interrupting me to do that.
Oh, and you can send me an email. You can send emails to the administration as others have.
All right, or I can exercise my right to discuss it at a meeting.
You can discuss it here, and you can send emails, and you can contact us anytime like everyone else does.
Mr. Brooks?
No restrictions.
Do we know how much ice time like the other, do we have an idea of what other towns or high schools would use the a hockey rink if we were to do it?
There's a projection.
What would you project?
In terms of how much downtime there would be?
No, you know what? What I'm looking for is I would think that since you proposed this originally in a plan that you made on October of 19.
Actually, believe it or not, Mr. Kelly, you and I spoke about this about 2 summers ago. So don't sit here and say that it's just on the September 19th. If you recall, Mr. Kelly, I was a personal citizen for a very long time, and they asked me to meet with every community member in terms of the program heads and come up with a conceptual plan for the town prior to me being a councilman. So it wasn't like I did this as a councilman. This was done prior to that.
Well,
when I have the opportunity. Wait, don't interrupt me.
I didn't yield for your time now, but go ahead.
Every single person and put together a plan, a conceptual plan that was approved by everybody. Now that I'm on the council, I have not spoken. I've taken a step back. Because it is not my right to just.
Hey, Mr. Brooks, I'm going to stop here. So, Mr. Kelly,
I've been interrupted by everybody.
I gave you 10 minutes,
no, you
Mr.
didn't.
Kelly.
Mr. Brooks,
yes, I did. I gave you 10 minutes.
Dated October 2nd of 19 after you became a council member in September.
Mr. Quinn,
your plan mirrors the same plan from EI.
Mr. Kelly can submit questions to us.
Why is your plan the same plan of EI?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, can we just stop?
Money?
Can we stop?
EI copy Mr. Brooks.
I gave you enough time.
You can certainly contact us at any time.
You use taxpayer money.
Mr. Quinn, do you have any questions?
Mr. Brooks's plan.
Mr. Quinn, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I believe. Mr. Kelly, thank you for your comments. Let us move on. Stop interrupting.
Mr. Quinn.
Now, Mr. Quinn has a question. We are doing a concept, understanding the concept. If we move forward on any one of these items, it will have to go through a bid process and come back to this council for final approval of the money. That is where we're heading.
I understand, Mr. Quinn.
The rest of this that you're trying to play games with,
no games.
What you've done over the last couple of years, we are now moving forward, and this is a concept that was drawn up, and we're asked to make an agreement, and then the committee will then look at this, come back with recommendations, and move forward.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Mr. Quinn?
I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. Freelander, Mr. Freelander, do you have any questions?
Nope. I'll
take Mr. Freelander's time, Mr. Jackson.
No. Do you have any questions, Mr. Freelander? No. Mr. Kritz, I know you had sent an email to Mr. Seeger. Do you have any questions beyond that?
Yes, I do. So And I apologize. So thank you for answering the questions that I emailed. As we were going through this presentation, I jotted down some new questions I have. And again, most of these are directed towards Mr. Coward. I'm not looking for an answer right now, just some points I like to bring up. We could answer them later. One, I don't see a press box for the artificial field. I'm wondering if we're considering one. Again, right now, just bringing it up. Two, have we considered construction of, in essence, a locker room or storage area? So I know, like, football has the area by the recycling center, soccer's got a shed, everybody's kind of spread out. Is there any possibility to centralize all the equipment and holding in one area? Again, no need to answer that right now. I'd like to discuss possibly, when we get closer, greatly expanding the handicap parking down, all the way down where there's existing, near the concession stand where, I know that's primarily most people are going to be trying to park there. And, they're always running out of handicap spaces. And then as we move much closer, and I know I brought it up before and I kind of tabled it and I'd like to bring it up when this is complete, making the Fleetwood no parking on the street. I could definitely see people wanting to park there. And I know that there's a lot of kids running in and out. When this is all over and done, excuse me, I will be reintroducing that for consideration. And then obviously, I also share concerns about the ice rink. And while I certainly agree that this is a concept, I know that there will, and I hope that there will be more information forthcoming specifically about that part. But again, I understand that this is just a concept and we can, handle those as we get closer.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kritz. So, and Ms. Seeger, Mr. Coward, I'm assuming you're keeping track of these questions, and at some point next week, if you can get back to the entire council with the answers, right?
Sure. Thanks, Council President.
Mr. Stalberg, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Just was hoping for some clarification, and I did have a question. So I understand that, of course, we are voting on the concept of creating new facilities for the residents. I'd like to know if by voting for the concept, how does that impact the actual items that are included here? The reason I ask is I know there was a committee that basically decided what was included in this. I was unaware of when this committee met, if we were able to input ideas that should be included for the residents, or if the residents in a whole were brought into this for their advice. So I guess it's two-part. One is, again, does the process basically lock in the items for review, or are we going to have an opportunity to add items and ideas as we go?
Adam, you can always add ideas to this. I mean, this is a concept plan, and primarily the lion's share of this obviously is recreation. Mm-hmm. And I kind of can get a feel for where you're going. You're looking at possibly using the rec center for some cultural type of things.
Possibly
maybe if we build it, we might have an area where we could have an indoor concert for our seniors, yoga, and all of that. And that has been discussed. And we're not that far along, as I have said. There are some things that I've been working on with the committee in terms of just trying to get the overall, some of the improvements that we feel that have been delayed. The basketball courts, as you know, the tennis courts are currently closed. They haven't been in use for a couple of years now. So I want to start, I want to jumpstart and get some of the smaller items, some of the low hanging fruit. And then as we go on, as Brian had said, this is not going to be done overnight. So it's going to be a work in progress, but we wanted to lay a foundation out as to what this can possibly look like in terms of space and where things would go. We may not necessarily build everything that's here, but if we have a solid foundation as to what can go there and how we can accommodate the sports programs, who are primarily going to be like I said, the lion's share of the people who are going to use this, I'm sure at some point we can inject some of those ideas that I'm not speaking for you, but I think that's what you're talking about with conversations we've had.
Absolutely, Mayor, and I appreciate that. I just want to make sure, again, there is a formalized process where not only my input or the other council members' input, but the residents' input. This is their facility, and Lord knows it's going to be their money So I just want to make sure that the concept, with opening the opportunities for more services for the residents, I want to make sure that there's all voices involved in this and there is a process to be heard.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Salberg?
No, thank you.
Councilman Brooks, any questions?
No question at this time.
Okay. Councilman Newman, any questions?
Hey, Mr. Brooks?
Councilman?
Mr. Brooks? Mr. Brooks?
Do you have any questions?
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Just listen.
Is the EI the same plan as yours?
Councilwoman Noon, do you have any questions?
Are you talking to me, Joe?
Yes, I am. Do you have any questions?
All of my questions were answered prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Sackett, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
My questions were also answered. Prior to me, my biggest question was, we had involvement from all the sports programs in terms of what they were looking for and what met their needs. So again, following up on this, my goal would be to, have administration with Mr. Coward provide answers to some of the questions that were provided tonight. If anybody has additional questions, please email them to Mrs. Seeger, and she will get you answers to them in a timely manner. With that said,
I want to make a motion, Mr. Jackson.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
I want to make a motion that we put the rec center on referendum for August for the November election coming up. I think the amount of money and what we're looking at here.
Anybody want a second?
I'm not done with my motion, Mr. Jackson, so please
No,
interrupt
you
me.
made the motion.
No,
You're
I didn't. I'm not
you're
done.
just talking now. You're talking.
My
now.
motion is to put the rec center and the monies on referendum to let the voters decide of what's going to be done rather than a couple of individuals that have only rec in their mind rather than the others that don't participate in rec. I believe that we should invest in recreation. But we need to make a motion to do this. There's just too much money and nobody has the right idea what's going on right now.
Anybody want to second the motion? Okay, nobody's seconding the motion. Can we have a motion?
My next motion, Council President, is to remove the hockey portion, the hockey rink, off of this concept plan moving forward.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Is that Mr. Salberg? No, who was that?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Thank you, Mr. Salberg.
Ms. Clipperton, can you take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
No.
Councilmember Freelander?
No.
Councilmember Chris?
No.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
No.
Councilmember Noon?
No.
Vice President Sackett? President Jackson?
No, that's 7 noes and 2 yeses. Motion does not carry. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the concept plan?
Yes, I'd make a motion to approve the concept plan moving forward.
I'll second it.
That was Mrs. Noon.
Second.
Yep.
Clerk, Mr. Clipperton,
Yeah.
I would just want to make a notion that I would caution Mr. Brooks in voting on this.
Yeah, Ms. Clipperton, go ahead and take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Excellent.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses and 1 no. The concept plan is approved. Next is our open to the public section. I'm going to first read one question that I got was from Brian Wittig. I think his email address is the question, but I'll ask the question. When will the next Board of Assessment Commissioners meeting regarding Bobbyville? Oh, there it is. 18 North Lakeshore Drive, Rockaway, Chrissy. Brian Whittick, 18 North Lakeshore Drive, Rockaway. When will the next Board of Assessment Commissioners meeting regarding Bobbyville be held? Can somebody answer that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I had reached out to Mr. Wittig, since I am the liaison for that committee. We finally got our packets yesterday, the complete packets delivered. Every member has it. I reached out to the chairman now, and we are presently going over a schedule to meet, to have meetings now that we have the information. Everybody is putting in their vacation times. We want to make sure that we have the right amount of people to move forward. And as far as, and that was sent out today since we got the package yesterday. So we are moving forward.
Okay, once you set that date, could you let administration know, and maybe Ms. Seeger, you could let Whittick know?
The whole town will know.
Okay.
When we
Yes,
set it up.
yes, I can. We have another question, another thing that was sent me.
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Seeger.
It came from Mrs. Degnan. Chrissy, I think you know her address. She said it's not really a question, it's a thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the mayor, councilor, and all the staff of Rockaway Township for all the love and support which has been shown to myself and my family on the sudden passing of my husband, Tom. Your support is amazing. From the moment I called 911 on the day through this very moment, I cannot say how grateful we all are as a family for everyone's kindness. The police escort was an added blessing. Please express our gratitude to all those officers who participated, as we had many out-of-town relatives who were unfamiliar with our area who were in the funeral procession. May God bless you all at that.
Thank you. Ms. Clipperton, if you can go through the people dialed in and see if there are any questions or comments open to the public.
Chrissy, unmute yourself.
Bill Major? Call-in user 2?
Don't hear him, Chrissy.
Call-in user 3? Jim Waters?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, please state your address.
That's Jim Waters, 48 Seneca Avenue in the township. I've watched 2 or 3 of these presentations, and I admire the way you struggle along in what's obviously a very difficult format. I'd just like to note one thing. There's a particular council person who appears to deliberately not mute his mic, because that council person apparently prefers to make extemporaneous, inane, puerile comments and attacks on other people. I would like either the council president or the council to instruct that council person to mute his microphone when he is not actually speaking, or I would ask that the clerk be instructed to mute his microphone except when that council person is actually called upon. Thank you.
Yep.
Lisa Salber?
Yes, it's Lisa, and I have a comment. Surprise, surprise. 10 Bergen Hill. A couple of things. Number one, I could not agree with Mr. Waters more. The childish sniping from Councilman Kelly through everybody's comments is juvenile and should be admonished. It's getting tiresome, and I know you love the spotlight, but dude, grow up. Secondarily, to Mr. Kelly again, when are you going to comply with the state laws of New Jersey and put a frickin' license plate on your car? The world does not revolve around you as much as you'd like to think that it does. Now on to the plan. I would hope that the town would very carefully consider their AED plan and include igloo coolers as they work to develop Peterson Field further to protect our citizens from sudden cardiac arrest emergencies during all sporting activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pat Dagner,
No comment, thank you.
Patrick Egan,
Yes, hi, this is Patrick Egan, 59 Lennox Road. I would just like to applaud the mayor, administration, and council for all working together on the plan for Peterson Field. I've been a resident here for over 21 years. I've been involved with girls softball and men's softball for about 18 years. Involved with both girls and men's softball, even though my daughter is out of the program. And I just want to, again, applaud the concepts that are moving forward and looking at all sports, and not only sports for our children who are involved in rec programs. You know, I know we're counting the number of kids in each of the programs, but everybody would benefit from a field. We don't have a town center. That is our town center. And as a coach, as a father, as a participant, I played men's softball at Peterson Field last night, socially distancing and all that, and it was great. You know, it's a gathering point for us, and the fact that you guys are looking at including the town, you know, a walking, looking at various sports. I think that's great. Turf fields are a must for us to prolong the season. And it's not so much playing in the summertime, but it's getting out earlier in the year. We lose so much time. The girls, the boys, everybody loses so much time by not having turf. We are limited spring sport programs coming out of winter, what we can do. So you look at other towns, turf fields are heavily utilized. It not only adds to the enjoyment of the children, the parents, the grandparents, the residents, but it also adds to the value of our homes. When people want to come and buy our homes, when we decide to move elsewhere, and when young families come in and they see that, that is definitely an advantage for us. So I applaud everybody working together, and I look forward to seeing and participating in the outcome. Thank you.
Rich Naska,
Nothing at this time.
Ron Cleveland,
No comment.
Terry Glass, William Degnan,
Only thing I would like to recommend to the council is that the hockey arena would be a good thing, because Marshalls and Marshmallows, all the students from Marshalls and Marshmallows know the Rockaway Township residents. And Menon Arena is a far drive. Thank you.
and that's it, Joe. Joe, you're muted.
Thank you, everybody. That's in to open a public session. Next is the consent agenda. We're going to talk about or vote on R20-115, R20-116, R20-117, R20-118, R20-119, R20-120, R20-121, R20-122, R20-123, and R20-124.
Council President, we got a motion to make on that.
Go ahead.
On R20 122 and R20 123, I would abstain from those two. So I'd ask that we pull them out only so we can vote on that separate, so I can abstain rather than ruin the entire vote for the whole consent.
I second the motion to remove R20-122 and R20-123 to vote separately.
I have one more motion now, but we'll go through this one first.
Yeah, go ahead.
The roll call you want to do first?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm trying to
sorry.
jot down. Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander? Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. So R20-122 and R20-123 will be voted on separately.
And then
You
I
have
have
another motion, Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I have another motion, which would be G, R20 121 for discussion. I have a concern of maybe a $49,000 discrepancy in that proposal.
I'll second the motion. R20-121, correct?
That's correct. That's for the REVAC contracting court.
Yep.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. What discussion items do we have for R20-121?
Did you want to vote on
Joe,
A through F and then H through I
sure.
and then discuss the last?
Sure. Is that good, Chrissy? So let's vote on A through F and then J as one item.
H and J, H and yeah.
H and I are separate, right?
Yep.
Okay. A through F and then J we're voting on.
I make a motion.
I second it.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn? Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, those items are approved, 9 yeses. And then let's have a motion to vote on H and I. I get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Kelly?
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses and 1 abstention. Motion carry. Discussion on G, R20-121.
If anybody wanted to go first, they saw something, or if I can continue.
Go ahead, you can continue.
What we have here, a resolution authorizing the release of performance guarantee, and there's also an additional amount of money that they're requesting for this, for some extra work. I do have a question on this, and I don't know if Mrs. Ferrante is online right now. Is Mrs. Ferrante with us?
Can you state the question, Mr. Kelly?
I just want to know Mrs. Ferrante's here, and I can direct the question to somebody else.
You can direct it to me, and then I'll pass it on to Mrs. Ferrante.
But is Mrs. Ferrante on right now?
What's the question, Mr. Kelly?
I can address it. It's just a simple yes or no, Mr. Mayor.
What's the question?
Is our engineer on or not?
What is the question?
The question is the cost of asphalt.
Say that again. It didn't come through.
It's the cost of the asphalt per ton.
So you want to know what the cost of the asphalt was per ton?
No, I know what the cost is. No, you don't know anything about asphalt and material. I was hoping that the engineer, or maybe the administrator, could answer.
Well, what's the question?
The cost of the asphalt.
You want to know what the cost of the asphalt is per ton?
Mrs. Ferrante, on the breakdown that we have here.
Ms. Ferrante, don't answer the question. I want to know what the questions are first.
I understand, and I appreciate you shielding the employees.
Okay, Mr. Kelly.
On the asphalt that we have, Mrs. Ferrante, you have $83 a ton.
The question that has numbers in front of you. You could have supplied these to us prior.
This is, I can ask you, Council President, I do have the floor, and I'm asking, it's only a dollar amount.
Or with the administration. You can speak, there's no requirement for a response. So we're going to leave it at that. You have questions that require.
You're breaking up, Mr. Mayor.
Or you need figures.
Mr. Mayor, you're breaking up.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ferrante, whether you answer or not, it's up to you. We're voting on a performance guarantee fund
until Mr. Kelly submits what he has in his hand to us.
Mrs. Clipperton, I'm allowed to participate in this with discussion. Can you please, somebody, control the mayor so I can ask my question?
Ms. Clipperton, I don't know if sometimes, can you mute yourself? Maybe that's because I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Speak now, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, we have on this sheet that was provided to us for this agenda, and on the sheet, Mrs. Ferrante, we have a price per ton for asphalt at $83. We have an amount of a difference that they were looking for us to pay from the overall amount of $29,000. They gave us a credit of $13,000, and I believe they're looking for a little bit more than $15,000 for additional work.
Can you please show us which sheet you're talking about?
These are the ones that you guys gave us.
Okay, we don't have those. I wish you would have asked prior.
They all came in the packet.
Okay.
That's not my problem.
It is your problem if you want a question answered efficiently.
I would think that if the clerk gave it to me, everybody received it.
It would be nice if we would have had the question.
Mr. Mayor, you're not going to dictate how I participate in a meeting under OPMA. Thank you.
You can ask all the questions you want, Mr. Kelly. You're not required to have a response.
You're absolutely right. And we're voting on over $200,000 tonight, Mr. Mayor.
So you can ask your question, and if we choose to respond.
Mr. Mayor, your paranoia is starting to cover over you of acting professional.
I don't understand what you're asking. Give us the documents.
Hey, hold on, Ms. Clipperton.
Can I please have a moment to speak, and then it might clear up some confusion?
Yeah.
The sheet that Mr. Kelly is holding, I believe, was provided in reference to R20-120, not R20-121. So everyone received the sheet that Mr. Kelly has, but it was provided in reference to a separate resolution.
Okay.
Then that's my error, where I have here for a release of the guarantee, I'm dealing with the financial amount that we have here that we're looking for a refund or to pay more to.
So do we have the sheet that in front of us, the numbers in front of us? That I'm trying to find them out.
Yes, Mayor Puzio, it should be stapled to resolution R20-120.
Just give us a second.
You didn't yell at me for all this. You could have wasted all that time for no reason.
We voted on that already? Did we vote on that already?
We did.
Yeah, you see, this is why things get disjointed. We vote on things.
No, because you don't stop, Mr. Mayor. That's why.
Voted on something already, and then now you're going back to it because you're wrong. You don't have the wrong information in front of you.
No, I have the right information. Unfortunately, I made the wrong move of a removal of an item on there. But if we didn't have so much interruption, there wouldn't be so much disruption.
It was an interruption by myself.
I know, Mr. Mayor.
Removal. It was totally, you had your time to remove items to do what you needed. So now I'm backing things up.
Mrs. Clipperton, I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Clipperton, can we make a motion to reopen R-120? It's actually, there's a lot of money that there's a potential error with the contractor. It's not putting the town at any blame. We're talking almost $50,000 of a difference of what we approved here. It's important.
And I want to discuss it. I just want to have some information. So
you have it.
To your question.
As of right now, if it is discovered that there is a major discrepancy, we've already voted on that item. As far as reopening that item to be discussed and voted on again, I would prefer to defer to Mr. Yachafano.
Mr. Yachafano, you're muted.
Would you like me to address that, Council President?
Yes, I would, please.
The council has the power by motion to vitiate or void its vote on any prior matter decided in the same session.
Okay.
That's it.
Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Kelly?
I would, because and Mr. Jackson, just so you understand, R-20, 121, and 120 are for the same location, same company. So the resolution with that documentation stapled to it, in that it was an easy error, and I did misspeak on that of making that error from 120 to 121.
Yeah, go ahead and make your motion.
Because of that, and like I said, I don't want an interruption from the mayor. I would like to rescind the vote that was made for R-20-120, so we can open up for discussion.
Anybody like a second?
Second that.
Go ahead, Mrs. Noon, Miss Noon.
If Mr. just has a question on it, can he just ask his question and we can move on?
No, it's already been voted on.
No. So would anybody like to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, was that Mr. Salberg?
It was.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Kelly, just so I have this recorded correctly, you want to rescind the approval of resolution R-20-120 and reopen it for discussion.
And you know what, Mrs. Clipperton, the only reason I'm looking at this is because 121 has the amount which is stated in the record stapled to 120.
Wait, well,
I'm
what
sorry,
the
but
mistake
so we can move forward. Is that what you're trying to do? Just reopen the matter for discussion, rescind the approval, reopen for discussion?
Well, we have to rescind the approval and then open up for discussion for a new vote.
That's what you just said.
Okay. Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. So R-20-120, the approval is rescinded and it's now open for discussion.
Okay, now, under the packet that was received that was provided by the clerk, it would be on the third page, the back of it though. And it looks like it's a breakdown from VVAC. Is everybody on there?
Hey, Chrissy, can you mute again? I think sometimes the feedback's coming from you. There you go.
And it would be line 17 and 18. Again, it would be Remax Contracting Group. It'd be on the back page of page 3.
Yep.
Do you see it?
The asphalt cost, you're saying?
That's correct.
Yep.
And it's not a trick question for the mayor's administration, but what it says there is $83 a ton.
Right.
It's not really a question for you, Mr. Jackson.
I'm not answering. I'm just acknowledging what you just said.
But Mrs. Ferrante, what is the $83? Is that for the material per ton, or is it for something else?
You're on mute, Allison. Allison, do you have those numbers in front of you? You're on mute. You're
Is she on? I don't see her. Chris,
you're good now. I don't see. Speak, Allison.
Yes, that is the bid price per that line item for the material and installation of that line item.
So that line actually is labor and material?
Yes.
Okay. Because it doesn't break that down. My concern is that a ton of asphalt is only $53 to $54. And the appearance of the $83 per ton for the asphalt and the amount of tonnage, there's like a $49,000 discrepancy that's there.
Yes, that's the going rate to install, to put down asphalt, both base layer and top coat.
With labor included. That was my question. On this, it doesn't display any labor. It only says the asphalt cost.
No, that's in the bid specs.
That was my question.
Are you good now?
It's clarified now, yes.
Okay. So can we get a motion to approve R20-120 and R20-121?
Yes.
So
Got
moved.
mine.
Second.
That was Manny and Jack.
What happened here?
She's getting ready to take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember New?
Yes.
Vice President Sack?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Resolutions carry. I believe that closed out the consent agenda.
No, we'd have to vote on 121.
I just made the motion to vote on 120 and 121.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay. Next, we're moving on to appointments. We have one appointment for EMS, and it's Benjamin Zawadzki. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? So it's Jack and Mary.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Jonathan, we can't hear you.
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Congratulations, Benjamin. Next, we have old business. And again, I think I've done this past couple meetings. We're going to limit to 5 minutes per council member. So anybody have any old business?
I have 2 old businesses.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
One, actually 3. One is the mall contract. Do we have any status on that? for security?
We're still being worked on. COVID has slowed it down.
Thank you. Do we have any status on the Wawa?
We've been in contact with their legal team, and we're working diligently with them. Once again, the COVID-19 pandemic has slowed quite a few things down, but we're trying to work through it. But we have been in contact with Wawa and their legal representation.
And then the last thing on old business is that, over at Lake Ames, it was brought up a while ago. It was something that I thought was a good idea to put over in the 6th Ward, was a dog park in the old RT Castle location. And the park not being of anything assembled anymore. The playground is up in Telemark now, which is great. The building has been knocked down, and I did believe that Mrs. Siegert had said that if we don't do something there, we could potentially use what was given to us. Is that accurate?
The dog park, Councilman Kelly, has been on my radar. I've actually spoken to a couple people up in the 6th Ward. I've had some pros and cons with the dog park in terms of its location and its.
What would the cons be?
Well, a few people have expressed to me that it's in an area where it's kind of secluded, and they're a little bit nervous going down there. That was expressed to me.
Okay.
It's definitely something that I want to do. I have absolutely listened to your suggestions as far as the dog park and trying to do some things up in the northern end of town. I've been working with Adam, and I'll talk about that in my report in terms of trying to get some recreational activities done for the 6th Ward to kind of get, some more use out of that area for the residents up that way.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, when we talk about that, and I'm not trying to exceed the 5 minutes, but it's an important topic.
Sure.
In the 6th Ward, we minimize on some of the amenities that we get down in the southern portion of it. But on the dog park, as it's somewhat posted on this concept plan that was kind of changed over there, I think having a dog park, most people that are dog lovers and dog friendly people go to a dog park. It's solely for a dog park. When you somewhat throw an idea to put one over in a concept plan and a big complex where you'd have to bring your dog through areas where there are people and children, food that aren't oriented around dogs, I think that could potentially create a liability and an issue, not only for the township, the dog owner, the dog, and a potential victim or members of the public.
That certainly has been discussed and is on our radar, your concerns, absolutely.
And as I mentioned before, that I can assure you, a dog park in the northern end, with the participation of some groups and people, I believe we can probably get that accomplished for no cost to the taxpayers with the volunteer efforts from many businesses and individuals.
It is certainly, like I said, it's certainly on the administration's radar. It has not been dismissed. We have a lot of things going on right now, so I'm trying hard to prioritize some of the bigger projects, but that is definitely on my radar, as are a few other things that I'll explain.
And what is the time frame that we have to put something together there if we lose the rights to it from the state?
That I couldn't tell you at this point. But
Could you get back to me on that?
I did look into it in terms of with our engineering, in terms of if we needed any sort of DEP back, last year when you had.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yep.
That to see if it was compliant, if we could go ahead without any DEP issues. So we are going to revisit it again at some point. Just we have a lot going on right now, so I'm trying hard to prioritize things.
That's all I have for old business.
Okay. Anybody else have old business? Okay. That's the end of old business.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, new business. If we could do it again in a 5-minute time limit per council member. Does anybody have new business they'd like to discuss?
I do have some new business.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to go up to the Rockaway Mall or visit some of the larger plazas that we have within Rockaway Township. Has anybody had an opportunity to do that? No?
Say that again?
If anybody had an opportunity to go to some of the large plazas that we have in Rockaway as well as the mall, if they visited it, since the opening by the governor?
No.
No.
I've driven through it,
But you haven't been inside,
Don't-
Mr. Freelander?
not in the mall.
Okay. And if it's very
I'm a high risk person, Councilman Kelly, so I'm still trying to stay away from certain areas.
No, I understand. I saw you at Home Depot the one time. You're right. So the question I have is that when you go through the mall, it's amazing the signs that are up for rent, closing, everything must go, 75, 80% off. The food court is half open from stores that are shut down. And every wing of every level has a vacant store. I know you guys are heavy into recreation and moving forward, and I do believe it's an investment, and I think we're in the right direction. Spending money on some of this stuff now during this COVID and this pandemic is completely the opposite way, and we should better prepare ourselves for other things that are just as important as recreation moving forward. So with that being said, I think that we should create a COVID-19 economic impact to business committee. And what this would do would potentially, we could somewhat canvass the businesses that are out there, get some information of their concerns, potential closures, and maybe pass that information to the governing body as well as the assessor and administration, because coming 2021, the potential appeals from vacancies from the mall area alone, which is over a $6 million tax collection, I think it's prudent and it's important to do so. And I don't know what you guys thoughts were doing that. I mean, if you don't want me part of the committee, I would like to be a part of it. If you choose to move forward to do it, I would definitely invest the time to communicate with businesses to find out. But I would rather find out beforehand of an appeal that may be filed come 2021. And it's very concerning when you see stuff out there. So when I see the council, and I understand it, that you want to spend some money, but we may have to give some money back in the next several months. And we need to be very prepared for that sooner than later. So that's one thing. And if anyone wants to chime in on that, please do so, of your thoughts. We're talking about businesses closing, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't we already have a small business committee already?
Who's on it, Mr. Brooks?
I don't know. I thought Mr. Sackett was on the small business committee.
We have the Chamber of Commerce, which would be a good useful tool. They're not related to the township though, and we would use them as a useful tool. But as far as the COVID-19, COVID took place after our reorg, so I don't think we have something related to that, Mr. Brooks. Would you want to be on a committee like that?
I don't mind being on a committee by that.
So maybe we can have some discussions moving forward. I mean, we have August 15th coming up, which is a month away, or I'm sorry, August 11th for the next council meeting. But again, I think we need to focus on our revenues that may be lightened because of the COVID pandemic, that it's hammered these businesses. Just take a walk in the mall. You can social distance. It's amazing on how many stores are empty. It's a ghost town.
What would you hope to accomplish, though, considering that we're taking most of our direct orders from Trenton right now as far as opening and what we're able to do?
Well, it's not so much, Mr. Salberg, of it's gathering information to better prepare ourselves. Like, in a sense, if we knew X amount of businesses that were going under, there's vacancies in the mall, there could be a potential filing, maybe we would focus more on maybe minimizing some of our spending at this current moment and focusing more, putting into some surplus, or maybe tabling some of the ideas we have to where it's a little bit more prudent when some of this COVID hopefully ceases or diminishes, that we can get back on track to the new normal that we're going to have to deal with.
Understood.
We don't have to decide on it now, of course, but it's just something, even if, Mr. Jackson, you want to put a spin and make it your idea, I'm with it. The other new business I have, again, I don't know what you're going to do, Mr. Jackson, because I did ask for some things to be on the agenda, and usually what I ask for, you don't let me speak about them. So can I include them into the new business?
You have 2 minutes left.
Okay. So one thing under new business, I believe we need to better advertise. I mean, we have the festival day coming up right now for the 18th. When we go on our Facebook, you see the August 15th Rockaway Day, but you don't really see the 18th. You have to really, by accident, click on something to look forward to it. I know I wasn't notified by the administration that we were having Festival Day, and there was nothing that actually canceled Festival Day for the 11th of July. And the message that we have in the Facebook versus our website, one says get your food and basically leave, and the other one kind of entangles people to stay and do some other things like face baiting and everything else for the kids. So our information that we put out there, if there's a way that maybe we can better tailor it to our audience and residents to attend, that would be great. And last on that, Mr. Jackson, is that every time we have one of these food truck festivals on Rockaway Day, which was very successful last year, and it was a great idea for Mr. Sackett, and Mrs. Kohler does a wonderful job. But we always do a collection of money for a specific group, which is recreation. The town gives recreation money. They have boosters and other organizations they get donations for. There are 40% of the children that don't participate in recreation. There's also seniors. Is there a way maybe we can give some money to other organizations within our township rather than it's always being recreation? There are kids that are music talented, drama, arts and crafts. Mr. Mayor said about yoga. I mean, maybe we can fund some of those things to help those communities. The gazebo, give them money. But it always seems that we just focus on giving money to recreation of a collection. So that was one thing. And then just to follow with that, if there's a way we can make a volunteer group, when we have these fundraisers and we have these festival days, there's costs that go into this. We have overtime for our employees, DPW, recreation, sometimes the guys from the water. If we were to get a group of people that'd be willing to volunteer to help clean up or set up, it may minimize the cost for the township, as well as Mrs. Kohler, who assembles this, to minimize her expenses, to maximize profit, to give to the groups that we donate that money that we collect. So is that a possibility we can do? Last year, I helped clean up. The mayor and Mr. Sackett had some other things. They came down, but they couldn't do it. There was one woman there last time on a Sunday. Can we get a group of people as a volunteer so it's no cost to anybody and a little bit of time and give them back to save some money? I'd be willing to get involved with that to be a part of that group or organization. And I'm sure some of you would like to do it too. Anybody? No.
Oh, I would definitely volunteer my time, and I agree with some of the things you said. So I would definitely volunteer our time, but it's kind of an administrative function to determine how they want to handle these things.
Well, we want to minimize money and participate of all these volunteers.
Yep.
That would be great to do that.
You have anything else, Mr. Kelly?
As far as new business, no, I'll wait for my report.
Anybody else have new business? Okay, let's go through reports. I'll go backwards this time. Councilwoman Noon, do you have any report to provide?
Just wanted to say regarding, I was contacted by a few residents about the fireworks. I know it's been an issue. And I did pass it on to administration and they did take care of it. So hopefully that'll end soon. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Brooks.
I just want to thank administration for working on cleaning up some areas of Mount Hope Road that I've had some concerns with some of my constituents, as well as some areas on Mount Hope Ave. Also wanted to just give kudos to Brian and the health department on setting up everything that they needed to do to get some of these kids out of the house and back onto the fields in a very safe social distancing atmosphere. That's it.
Councilman Salberg.
It seems that lately it seems to have been a hot topic, not only locally, but also in the news about wearing masks, social distancing, opening businesses, and even to dovetail into what Councilman Kelly was saying, is that, of course, we feel for our local businesses. We want to see them succeed. We want to patronize them to get money to them. But in the meantime, now is not a time that anybody should be slowing down on wearing masks, social distancing. The proof just needs to be seen by entire continents that are going back to normal because they followed basic measures. We're seeing Florida literally on fire now, higher numbers than we saw in New York. We're lucky here in New York and New Jersey that we're going the right path, but now's not the time to let up. So it's the only thing I'd say is wearing a mask is inconvenience. It's not oppression. Please think about your neighbors, practice safe social distancing, wash your hands, and please wear your masks. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, for council reports, we're going to try and keep it a 5-minute time limit per council member. Councilman Kritz.
Yeah, I just wanted to, second what Adam's saying there. Just because things are getting better doesn't mean that they are completely back to where we need to be. Use common sense. Things are different now. A lot of the restaurants in town are having outdoor dining. I do hear, some complaints, from some people about how things are handled. Listen, everybody's going through this the same. Things are different now. Just use your best judgment, use common sense. I've gotten some calls asking about start times for, some full sports. And again, it's, I'm certainly not speaking for the individual sports, but I feel safe in saying that they also want to do the right thing for all of the athletes. And, just please be patient like you are. Use common sense out there and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Friedlander.
Yeah, basically pretty quiet. Moving ahead. All the other committees. Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
I was looking at my cheat sheet right next to me. That's why. But the library's doing well. All the other organizations really meeting and just delaying everything. And like I said earlier about the sewer assessment committee, they're starting to move ahead. And I will keep people informed of what's going on with that. And just hang in there and stay safe, people.
Thank you. Councilman Quinn.
Yes, thank you. Hold on. All right. Sorry. All right. The rec committee has taken a break during the summer season. We had our last meeting and Bob Conlon was our chairman. He received the Walt Stazak Award for all of his efforts for our children and to help all the programs in this town. He dedicated a lot of time, effort into this program. He deserves the Walt Stazak Award, and it was a very nice program for us to give to him. And yes, everybody, please stay safe. Keep wearing your masks. Do what you got to do to stay safe. And have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly.
A couple things that I have on here. One, I just want to give everybody an update with Green Pond Road. I'm going to apologize in advance for any inconvenience that it's creating. But the county is going from Meriden Road up to Telemark area. Right now, they're doing catch basins and doing some preliminary repair before they do any resurfacing on there. So you'll see Fitzpatrick that's doing a lot of those curb boxes and repairs there prior to the pavement. So there are some detours. They just recently, Mr. Nemeth from the DPW was grading Snake Hill Road, did a phenomenal job as he always does, as well as Split Rock Road. So it's an easy traveling compared to what it's been in the past. If you have to detour to go around, if you were going towards the mall area or Home Depot, that would be a way to go to avoid the traffic. But it's only temporary for that. We've already touched base on the passing of Sergeant James Iannelli, who also was a detective and was working on that cold case back in the early 80s with the Mars Catholic student that got shot, and it was never solved. And he'll be deeply missed from everything that he's done. He was a pillar in the community from Marcella all the way down to Mount Hope. So to Dottie and her daughters and his grandchildren, my condolences. The same thing with Mrs. Degman. I think Mr. Ed Gable in eulogy said it the best, that he said it like this: Tommy was a fireman's fireman. And that was something very refreshing to hear. So my condolences to the Degman family as well for that. Which I was talking, and I was hoping people would mention it. We had Festival Day. There's another date for it now on the 18th. I don't know if it's going to be canceled again. Mrs. Kohler, who has been trying to get some events taking place and having some bad weather and bad luck, she's looking forward to this. I hope we have something in place of a plan. Again, we have one message on Facebook, another message on the website, to give people a better idea what to expect and what to plan for when they go there. The other thing is the playgrounds. Mr. Mayor, maybe you can help me on this. I did offer the services for you for free, but if we could have the playgrounds disinfected every Friday prior to the weekend.
I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable at this point with the resurgence of COVID, so I'm erring on the side of safety.
You're closing the playgrounds?
They're closed right now. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not reclosing them. They're closed right now. And they're gonna.
There's no signs in the telemark that I saw for the closing. I did see a employee disinfecting the three. The one over by Stony Brook. There was the one in telemark, and of course over at Peterson Field. They disinfected them last Friday, but there was nothing that I was aware of the playgrounds being closed now.
Okay, they're closed. Yes, it was put out. They're closed, the playgrounds.
Were they ever opened up?
No.
Okay. Then is there a reason why we had them disinfected then? Or you weren't aware of that?
I was unaware. Dude. If you could tell me which playgrounds were disinfected, send me an email with the dates and times.
I can tell you right now. I was under the inclination that all of them were.
Not that I'm aware of. I closed them.
Well, somebody from administration told them to clean them and disinfect them.
Okay.
I witnessed it, so.
Okay.
If that's something that's a concern.
Yeah, no, they're closed.
I would love for the administration to let each council member know.
Yeah.
And each of the wards.
They're closed. The playgrounds are closed.
Mr. I think Mr. Brooks is Ward 3 over there in Stony Brook. Mr. Quinn's over there in Peterson Field.
The playgrounds are open.
So good to know. Thank you for letting me know that.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I have in the report, I'm sorry here. Oh, is minutes. From what I've noticed when we have complaints in the past concerning minutes and the availability of minutes, but the constant changing or directing the clerk in regards to what goes in the minutes, I think we should add some caution to that from our council president and our attorney as well. We've had some bad filings of courts. They've gone against us because of minutes. And I've noticed in the Board of Adjustment, there hasn't been any minutes that have been posted on the website. And I think I know it's not the clerk's position on another department's minutes, but if we haven't learned from our prior litigation that we've had with regard to minutes, we need to do that. And there is nothing that allows the council president or an attorney to direct the clerk not to put minutes or records in the minutes that's requested. So moving forward, I think we need to stop that practice if possible. So I wish everybody to be very safe. Please go out. Hibernia Diner has outside dining. We have Sam's Deli on 46. I'm sorry, on Green Pond Road. Wonderful food. They don't have outdoor dining. You can go inside, but you can't eat inside. Takeout. We have Leslie's that is doing takeout, and they keep changing the line of callers that come in to get free food. I think it's the 10th, 20th, and 30th now of callers, and you receive a free food if you're one of those numbers. The Rockaway Bagel has outside dining. We have the Green Pond Grill that have a small little area outside and some wonderful food too. We have Tony's Pizza and Telemark. The same thing. They cater to everybody and come outside, and they are very, very COVID oriented. And so just go hit those places. But if any of the council members get an opportunity, please go to the mall. Maybe you'll have a different perspective and maybe moving on an informative group or committee to get some information before we find out from an appeal. So with that, I yield my time.
Vice President Sackett.
I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few things. Number one, just to, circumvent any lies or confront any lies, I don't direct the clerk on what to put in the minutes or not in the minutes. And as Mr. Kelly said, it's not anything in the council president's job or whatever to be able to tell the clerk to do that, just like it's not in a council member's job to tell the clerk what to put on the minutes. So it goes both ways. Number two, in the vein of saving taxpayer dollars, I'd like to thank the 8 council members that took the GIF training that saved $250. A council member.
I took it, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you,
Mr. Jackson, I have the certification, Mr. Jackson.
Don't interrupt me.
I have the certification, Mr. Jackson. You're providing false information, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. So Mr. Kelly didn't take it in the time.
I did take the certification, Mr. Jackson. You're just unaware of it.
He had the call.
You're providing false information, Mr. Jackson.
He had the call.
You're providing false information, Mr. Jackson.
I am not.
You are providing false information.
Stop being so angry. Stop being so angry.
You have the certification, Mr. Jackson.
Stop being so angry. You called them past the deadline and got an extension.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
They opened the deadline for everybody because they weren't giving me the information.
You're very sad.
You got sad that you're lying. You're making a political statement out of it. You're lying there, Mr. Jackson.
You're lying.
I have my certification.
You're lying, Mr. Kelly. You're
lying.
lying.
You have my certification.
Shifty. You're shifty. Look at your eyes. You're shifty. You're lying.
You have my certification.
So in your 15, so every Friday, Mr. Sackett and I get the Oprah log. So in your almost 15 Oprah requests this year, in the vein of saying taxpayer dollars. So let's look at but your July 7th Oprah request. What was that for, Mr. Kelly, in transparency? What would you ask for?
You know what? You'd have to tell me. There was a couple that I provided at that period of time.
You don't even know what you're Oprah requesting.
You have to tell me. You have it in front of you, and I'll say what it is.
I have the log. I don't know what you Oprah request. I have the log.
I couldn't tell you. It might have been contracts. It could have been payroll information. It could have been emails like you've emailed before. It could have been a whole bunch of things.
And how are they looking for taxpayer savings by Oprah requesting all those things?
Well, Oprah doesn't cost any money, and then Mr.
Does not cost money. But when our employees have to get these records for you and our attorney has to review things, that costs money, Mr. Kelly. You're wasting thousands of dollars.
Mr. Jackson, under 47-1A, Mr. Jackson.
That's my report.
There is a fee collection that's on there.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any update to the impact of the residents on COVID? Do you have any update?
Do I have any update?
No, I said, Mr. Mayor.
I'll have some update.
No, I'm not asking you for an update. You're done.
It was my request to be on the meeting then, Mr. Jackson.
Do not have an update on the economic impact
and the Bowlbyville sewer, thank you. And the Bowlbyville sewer assessment update, I think Mr. Friedlander gave an update. Everybody received their packets, and they're looking to schedule a meeting, and he will let us know when the meeting's scheduled. Is there any other update besides that, Mr. Friedlander or Mr. Yachfano?
Just a brief one, Council President. We are waiting for the tax assessor, Mr. Burek, to create some large-scale maps is not his fault. He has been inundated with tax appeals this year. In fact, there are 41 from the township scheduled for the tax board at the end of July. And he's been working very hard and been very cooperative. We need those maps to make the presentation clear to the commission and to the residents. I'll hold the rest for my report.
Thank you. And then there's agenda item recording and production of meeting minutes update. Ms. Clifton, do you have some update to provide around that?
I was not asked to provide an update.
Okay.
I was the one to provide the update for you, Mrs. Clipperton.
Okay. And then
Can I provide the update, Mr. Jackson?
No, you don't have anything to do with the recording and production of meeting minutes. Why would you provide an update?
Well, I do because we approve them,
Do you have, can you provide your report, Mr. Mayor?
I do. I want to reach out. I want to thank all of the council members this year. We've been moving forward with getting, or if you notice on a lot of our meetings, on most of our meetings, we've had quite a few ordinances that have come through. And that is due to the cooperation of the council, the committees, that we are trying to clean up our ordinances, get some of the things updated. It's a process, but the ordinance committee has been extremely responsive. Certain things that we're working on that I mentioned before is Adam brought this to my attention about utilizing our natural resources, our lakes, our ponds for fishing, for things like that. And that's something that the northern end of town has a plethora of. And it's something that I'm working with Adam, working with the ordinance committee, with the town attorneys, the engineer, to open up certain lakes, Lake Ames, Lake Egbert, to Mount Hope Pond, to possibly putting kayaks on there, to kind of utilize our natural resources, to allow our residents to use something that I believe not a lot of towns in Morris County have. We have a lot of resources, a lot of potential. So we're starting to explore that, and that has to be done through the ordinance committee to make sure that we're following state rules and regulations. And I'm going to let Ms. Seeger speak to the in terms of recreation. We do donate not just to recreation. Not all of our money goes to recreation and sports. Certain things go to seniors and other groups in town. We only held Rockaway Township Day for the first time last year, was the very first time. And we earmarked that money to go towards recreation because we know it's an expensive undertaking. We haven't been earmarking money from festivals and different events that we've been.
Well, it says that now in the most recent one, Mr. Mayor.
We haven't been earmarking money from festivals and things of that nature towards recreation because we haven't had any festivals.
But the current one right now is, though, isn't it?
Please, Mr. Kelly, you always complain about me interrupting you. I have the floor right now. It's not a question and answer time. This is a time.
I'm just correcting you.
This is
the current food truck.
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order, Mr. Kelly. You're out of order. Please stop talking.
Because I get interrupted.
You're out of order, Mr. Kelly. Stop
I've
speaking.
asked the council numerous times if they have questions, numerous times, to submit, especially if they deal with numbers or paperwork that needs.
I can ask at a meeting.
I asked the council numerous times to contact the administration, send an email, make a phone call if you have a question. You can repeat that question at this meeting.
I can ask it on the meeting too.
Mr. Kelly, I'm not speaking just about you.
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order. Stop speaking.
I'm not. This is not about you, Mr. Kelly. It's not everything that I do is about Councilman Kelly. It's about the entire council. I always ask the council to submit questions to the administration so we can have our ducks in a row, so we can have things in order, so we can answer those questions quickly. It makes for a smoother meeting. This is not the Jerry Springer show where we're going to play I Gotcha all the time, or we have to have our engineer look through documents and kind of peruse documents and come up with answers.
You're nervous of the answer. That's why.
That's just an example from tonight. Here we go.
I know you're nervous.
Here we
Look
go.
Back an hour ago.
Mr. Kelly, stop it. You're out of order.
Rude as usual. Trying to paint an optic that's not there, and I'm getting tired of it because it's not actually what's going on. In terms of cleaning the playground, in terms of volunteers coming out with solutions cleaning the playgrounds and volunteering, that's not such a good idea. I've run it.
You didn't even know your own team did it. That's the sad part.
If we have playgrounds being cleaned by council members in certain undertakings. What happens when we are exposed to liability and someone comes down with COVID or someone comes down with something? Where does that leave us? Are we certified to do that? Is a councilman or any councilman here certified to use certain solutions or cleaning? No, that's what companies are for.
Mr. Mayor, you have two cleaning individuals that aren't certified in the township town hall.
Answer time.
Come on.
I've given you.
Stop it with your propaganda. Stop
I
it.
did not interrupt. You can
Stop it. Your cleaning crew isn't certified. Stop it.
Keeps talking and
You
talking.
stop it. Oh, stop lying, Mr. Kelly. Stop.
I'm not lying. Our own
Jackson,
employees are not certified. Knock it
Stop
off.
speaking, Mr. Kelly. Oh, my goodness. You're so unprofessional.
Mr. Kelly,
You're a child. You're a child. Stop being childish.
Jackson, the credit that's going to be applied is for Mr. Kelly's taking the class at a later date than everyone else.
You still got your money, Mr. Puglio.
It's not going to be applied to this year. It's going to be applied to next
Your
year.
administration had every opportunity to give me the information they didn't want to give me.
Everything that
You were notified, Mr.
That's not
Kelly.
true.
More lies,
Look at the
more
records.
lies.
Look at the
Lies. All you do is
records.
lie.
I took the class and 8 council members were able to complete.
I had to do an Oprah request to get the
All you do
information,
is
Mr.
lie.
Jackson.
People were
And
able
prove
to
that you
do
were-
that.
And you proved that you were notified.
As Oprah goes, if a simple phone call to the administration on a particular,
You have to know it to actually make the phone call, Mr. Mayor.
have a question about payroll, anyone has a question.
Fix my email problem, and then we would have no issue.
Mr. Kelly,
No
you're
need
out of
to
order.
thousands
Stop speaking.
Thousands and thousands of dollars on Oprah requests. Thousands.
I doubt it. You're so far from it with the propaganda again, Mr. Mayor. Stop
You know
it.
what? I'm making a motion that Mr. Kelly's out of order.
So
Second.
I make a motion.
at some
Second.
point,
Please.
thank you. I'm done with my report for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Seeger, do you have any report?
Reprehensible.
Yes, I just want to let you all know that we do give money to the seniors. They have yoga classes. They're still going on now through a WebEx or some other way. They are going on. We give seniors money for their trip. We give the gazebo committee money to have their concert. And it's all in the budget, so everybody should know that. And I just wanted to tell you, all the money does not just go to sports groups. And people can donate how they want to donate their money, and we put it in an account for that. And I thank you, and I don't have anything else to report.
Thank you. That's all I have. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Good.
All in favor, raise your hands. Go. Meeting's adjourned, Chrissy. You could stop the recording.